Hello dear students, welcome to Devika's Commerce and Management Academy. Auditing, we are discussing very much important topics, right? So appointment of an auditor, removal of an auditor, rights of an auditor, duties of an auditor, same continuation way we are going to discuss today civil and criminal liabilities of an auditor. Yes, if auditor makes any mistake, if through his negligence or deliberately to deceive someone, or if he is committed for any kind of fraudulent activities, then he is liable. He has to face the civil or criminal liabilities. So any of the act, he has to face the consequences. So that we are going to discuss. Very important topic, civil and criminal liabilities of auditor. Why we have to learn this topic, because tomorrow if you become an auditor, you must be very careful while performing your duties. You must know what are my duties, what are my rights, and if I make any mistakes, whether knowingly or unknowingly, how I am liable. Does it comes under the criminal liability or civil liability? All these things you must know. That is the reason this topic is included. So very important and easy to remember. I'll make you to understand in a liquid lucid form. Just focus for few minutes. Now first thing, if you talk about civil and criminal liabilities of an auditor, 4 types of liabilities are there. First thing is that civil liability for negligence. First point, civil liability for negligence. Second one, liabilities under Companies Act. First one is civil liability, second one is liabilities under Companies Act. Third one, liabilities for professional misconduct. Not following the professional ethics, okay, professional misconduct, third one. And fourth one is liabilities under other statutes, 4 points. Under these 4 points, we will discuss each and every one, basic 4 points, remember. Now first thing is that liabilities, civil liabilities for negligence. If he is neglecting, or maybe knowingly or unknowingly he ignored something and neglected, so that negligence is causing some kind of loss to the company. If the company is bearing any kind of loss, huge loss, then he is liable. How he is liable? First thing is that personally he is liable. Because of your negligence, the company got so and so loss. So you are personally, you are liable. And related to this liability, if he makes any kind of negligence, but if the company is getting any kind of loss, then the auditor is liable, we are saying. So related to this, we are discussing 2 cases. First case is that Treasure India Limited versus AI Forjuan and Company, section 581C. Okay. So this case, they have discussed about the auditor's duties. Auditor has to work like this, auditor nature of job would be like this, but at the end it was held that the auditor is not liable to perform the job as detective. Remember this point. Auditor has to perform, he should not ignore his duties, he should not neglect his duties, but at the same time he is not liable to perform the job like a detective. Should not work like detective, just he has to take the reasonable care. So this is said in this case. There is another important case. That case is that London Oil Storage Company versus Sears, Haslak and Company. So in this case, they have mentioned very clearly that if due to the negligence of any auditor, if the company is bearing any kind of loss, then the auditor is responsible. The auditor is liable to pay loss or damages of the company because of his nature of job. If he is neglecting, if he is ignoring, if company bears any loss, you have to pay the damages. In the previous case, they also said the same thing, but they protected the auditor by saying that he should not work like detective. And in the second case, simply they mentioned that if any negligence is there, the company is bearing any kind of loss, the auditor is responsible. He has to pay for the damages which occurred due to his negligence. Okay. So these are the 2 cases under the civil liability for negligence. Okay, so this is simple. Second thing is very important, liabilities under Companies Act. Companies Act has mentioned few liabilities. What are those liabilities? Means those liabilities are divided into 4 parts. Okay, liabilities under Companies Act, 4 parts are there. First one is civil liability, second one is liability for misstatement in the prospectus, third one is liability of misfeasance and criminal liability. 4 points you have to remember under the liability under Companies Act. First thing is that civil liability we are talking. When we talk about civil liability, remember that a court may summon or scrutinize any officer. Remember this. Court sometimes if they find any kind of doubt or any kind of misfeasance, the court may summon any scrutinizer or any officer related to the company, and they can inquire about the company activities and they can inquire about the work of the auditor, and if something is proved, then it comes to the during the winding up of the company, liquidator also suspects. In the first case, if it is proved that auditor is liable, then they may charge some amount. Auditor is liable according to the damage he has to pay. And in the same way, second thing, during the winding up of company, if liquidator suspects, you know that winding up of company means one special officer is appointed, he is called as liquidator. During winding up of the company, if liquidator, the special officer, if he suspects something is going on, then he has every right to inquire, and after the inquiry, if anything is proved that auditor made a mistake, then in such case also auditor is liable. 2 cases remember, liability, civil liability. First thing is that the court may summon for any kind of inquiry if it is proved. Second one is during the winding up, if liquidator says anything, then both the cases auditor is stuck, he is liable, he has to pay the damages whatever occurred. Okay. Second thing is that liability for misstatement. Misstatement means false statement in the prospectus. Through the prospectus only every company gets the capital, right? They are giving a wrong statement, misstatement in the prospectus itself only, then auditor is liable. It's a very big mistake. How he is liable? Remember these points. Liability to pay the loss to the shareholders or debenture holders. Prospectus is to issue the shares and debentures, right? There if he makes any mistake, if he is concealing the facts, then automatically he is liable for his misstatement to the shareholders, because by trusting the prospectus, shareholders or debenture holders, they are purchasing the shares or debentures from the company, right? That is why he is liable to pay the loss to the shareholders and also to the debenture holders because of the misstatement in the prospectus. Third point, liability of misfeasance. Misfeasance means he is breaching the trust. Every company trusts the auditor. If he is breaching the trust, that is called as misfeasance. In case of any misfeasance, then he is liable to pay the damages. He is liable to pay the damages whatever is occurred, but the damages must be, time limit is given, within 5 years he has to pay the damages, right? So this is about liability of misfeasance. Fourth one is that criminal liability. Criminal liability especially is related to the false statement in prospectus. False statement in prospectus. So their liability, this here misstatement is wrongly. False statement, totally it's gone wrong. False statement totally. Then in such cases we call it as it's a criminal liability. If auditor is committed under this case, then he has to bear this loss. 2 years jail means 2 years imprisonment and 5,000 rupees fine, both. 2 years imprisonment, this is jail means it is very awkward and it is very dangerous also. 2 years jail and also 5,000 fine. And also during the process of winding up, this is in the process of prospectus. So 2 years jail and 5 years fine also. During the process of winding up, while winding up, if he makes any mistakes, then 7 years jail and also fine. Fine depends on the case. Fine is not mentioned clearly, but anyway remember that 7 years jail and fine. So this is in case of criminal liability. Second point you need to remember because this is a little bit lengthy. Second point is what is that? Liability under Companies Act. First one is that civil liability and liability for misstatement in the prospectus, liability of misfeasance and criminal liability. Criminal liability, two things remember: false statement in the prospectus and during the process of winding up. Okay. So this is about liabilities under Companies Act. Now third thing is that liabilities for professional misconduct. Professionally he did not follow the ethics and he was not honest. So that is, we call it as a liabilities for professional misconduct. So in any of such case, only one point remember, we are not going to discuss much about this. So he is liable for breaking professional code. He is liable for breaking professional code conducted by Chartered Accountants of India 1949. If he makes any kind of mistakes professionally, then he is liable for breaking the PIN code. What is that? Professional code conducted by the Chartered Accountants of India 1949. Then he has to bear the losses. So that's about liability of professional misconduct. Last one is that liabilities under other statutes, other activities. Here you can discuss about 2 points. First one is that liability under income tax. Spelling I did not write E. Yeah. Liability under income tax. So under liabilities of income tax, if at all due to the negligence or due to the misfeasance of the auditor, which is giving a damage, which is manipulating, which is misguiding the income tax officers, then he is liable. How? First thing is that imprisonment up to 2 years. Income tax officers, if they found anything, so they are going to put the auditor in jail, means that is imprisonment up to 2 years. And further, he might also be disqualified from practicing. 2 years jail, and in future sometimes he might be disqualified as a practitioner also. Total career is gone. So that is why he must be very careful about this liability under Income Tax Act. Second thing is that liability under Consumer Protection Act, as per Consumer Protection Act 1986. 1986, I completed my 10th class. So able to remember very well. So liability under Consumer Protection Act means related to the Consumer Protection Act point of view, if auditor is caught by making any kind of mistakes, misstatements, any of such things, he is liable, because Consumer Protection Act is not going to leave anyone. This is going to work for the benefit of the consumer, right? So in such case, auditor would be charged, okay, charged if he gives wrong advice towards payment of fees. Any kind of advice is given by the auditor for payment of fee, then he will be charged. According to the case, they may take the action, but particularly they did not mention anything, how many years jail, how much is the fine, nothing is mentioned. But anyway, if he is caught for his wrong advice, then he will be taken action. So that's about liability under Consumer Protection Act 1986. So these are the simple points. First take a screenshot, then I'll tell you briefing how to remember. Many people find it is tough. No, not at all easy. Just remember few points, side headings, this table, remember it. Automatically you can write it in the exam very well. So total civil or criminal liabilities are 4 types. One is negligence, second one is Companies Act, as per the Companies Act, third one is misconduct, and fourth one is other statutes. Okay. First one is, we did not discuss any side heading points. Simply there are 2 cases, and if any damages, he is personally liable, we have said. Second point is that there are 4 subheadings. One is civil liability, That is, second one is that misstatement in the prospectus, liability of misfeasance and criminal liability. 4 points, remember. Okay. Under this side, whatever matter is there, that also you have to. And third point is quite easy to remember, liabilities for professional misconduct. There is nothing to write. If he is breaking the professional code as per the Chartered Accountants of India 1949, then he will be liable. Fourth point, liabilities under the other statutes. 2 points, Income Tax and Consumer Protection Act. Am I clear? Simple, nothing to worry. So, but anyway, just before exams don't study, well in advance you study, and before exam just revise it. By the way, did you subscribe to our channel? Please support our channel because it is free of cost. There are many subjects already prepared and also planning. So support our channel by subscribing, and also do share these videos with many students because it is free of cost, especially for all the student community I am preparing. So make use of this and study well and have a bright career. Good luck.